And that's all, folks. The 2025/2026 summer transfer window is officially closed, which means Tottenham Hotspur summer transfer business is officially done, pending a couple of formalities. So, a bit of a different setup. Normally I sit down and give my views on my trusted sofa, but I said, you know what, let me chat to the people then whilst I'm going for my evening walk. Yeah? Because I think there's a lot to digest. There's a lot to talk about. There's positives. There's a lot of positives for all those people who think, oh, all he does is moan. Nope. There's a lot of positives about this window, but there are some negatives. There's room for improvement. So yeah, let's get into it. Now, I've been asked, like, what rating would you give the summer transfer window? What would you give the summer transfer window out of 10? And for me right now, I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 for multiple reasons. So, if I think of what the mandate was before the window closed, or at the start of the window, the mandate for me was pretty simple. Well, they say nothing's that simple in football, but for me it was clear. We need to improve our left-hand side. We need to improve creativity through the middle. We need to improve technical quality on the right-hand side. And, yeah, we need to get rid of Deadwood. For me, Deadwood, Brian Hills, Manu Solomon, Richarlison, Basuma, Ben Davies, Dane Scarlett. For me, that constitutes as Deadwood. There's a lot of players there that I've just mentioned. Yeah? And that's not even taking into consideration the loans that we needed to sort out as well. So, loaning out Vuskovic, loaning out Alfie Devine, yeah? Loaning out Tyrese Hall. Like, loans that we needed to make, transfers that we needed to make, whether that's purchases or sales. And yeah, here we are. So for me, I've landed at a 7. Now, I'm going to give my reasoning for why I've gone for a 7. So, for me, I'll start with the good. I feel like the biggest marker of improvements to your team is improvement to your first 11. Because for me, the best way to build a squad, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, but the best way to build a strong squad for me is to sign players that are capable of starting. To push your starters onto the bench. That makes your squad stronger. That makes your squad much more competitive. And I feel like we did that well in, I would say, at least 3, if not 4 areas. I look at the right wing. It was crying out for quality for obvious reasons. We know what we've had to endure the last 2 seasons, whether it's been inconsistency from Kulusevski or just outright awful footballing ability with goals from Brennan Johnson. We've had to endure a lot of crap and inconsistency and very erratic performances off the right. But the club went out of their way and splashed 55 million on Kudus, which represents not only good value for me in this market when you look at the amount we spent, but when you look at the profile player, he's a quality player. He's a quality player that immediately improves our first 11. He gives us technical quality. He gives us ball retention. He gives us 1v1 ability. He gives us creativity. He gives us X factor. And he raises the technical level of our team. So for me, that's a big tick. Then we look at midfield. Palhinha. Now, you all know that my main desire in the midfield this summer was, and I said it at the start of this video, was to improve the creativity in central areas. At the start of the summer, I thought we definitely needed a player that plays in Palhinha's position, but I wasn't necessarily convinced that we needed a player of Palhinha's profile, i.e. a quality destroyer, but very reserved ball player. But that being said, when you looked at the optics of the deal, a 1-year loan with a buy option of £26 million, which is nothing in this day and age for a player of Palhinha's caliber, and you look at the player we're getting in return. Oh shit, I saw someone's dog. It's just, he's coming towards me. But when you look at the player we got in return, we get a seasoned international for Portugal. We get a midfield general who was shutting it down from a defensive standpoint literally a year ago for Fulham and was one of the best midfielders in the league. And we get someone with experience that can just come straight into the team and start. And I'm not just talking about experience in terms of footballing years, because he's 30 years old, where we've got a bunch of young G's that we signed last season. I'm talking about Premier League experience as well. I'm talking about Premier League experience. Yeah, that matters. May not necessarily be the main factor from time to time, but it does matter. And we were able to do all of those things with one signing on loan, with a cheap buy option from Bayern Munich, a player who just slots straight into the 11 and competes with Bentancur for the 6. Yeah, that was a very good signing. That's a tick. Then I look at Xavi Simons. I look at what that deal represents. I'm not going to spare you, I'm going to spare you with the details, sorry. I'm not going to go OTT. But we all know what he's about. Quality player, brilliant technician, young, scope for improvement, can play out on the left as well, if need be. And then, again, you look at the price, £52 million in markets where Ilanga's going for 55 million. Hutchinson is going for close to 40 million. Wissa's going for 55 million. Now, Wissa's a good player, but the rest are mediocre players at best. And we signed Xavi Simons for 52 million. 52 million pounds. That is a bargain. That's a bargain in this market. You should be going for more. So, and then of course, he's a starter. Maddison and Kulusevski injured till 2026. We needed to fill the 10 position. So we went out and we bought a guy who can literally come into the team and start. So that's 3 starters. And then if I look at Kolo Muani, striker that was done quick time. Again, not going to go into crazy details. But me personally, I like the signing. I like the player. I think he's got qualities that the team needs. And most importantly, in a situation where we needed a starting caliber striker, we were able to do that deal very quickly without a need to buy him permanently. Yes, we don't have the buy option ourselves, so if he does do well and we want to retain his services, yes, it's going to be difficult to do so, but nevertheless, it puts us in a good position for this season in that area of the pitch, considering Solanke might be injured for a while. Richarlison is a sick note. And again, we get someone who's seasoned. 26 years old, France international, played in Germany, played in France, played in Italy. He knows what he needs to do. Come into this team and perform. And that was the mandate. Get starters who can come into this team and perform and raise the standard. Yeah? And we've been able to do that with 4 signings. So for all intents and purposes, that's 4 starting options. When was the last time Spurs went out and signed 4 starting options to their team? So for me, that deserves plaudits. That deserves credit. Now, we can question the timing, which definitely weighs into my rating. But ultimately, we've got these players over the line. So for me, that's strong. Questionable signing with Matthias Tel. Again, if you ain't watched my video, go watch it. I questioned that signing at the time, and I'm questioning it now. I like Tel. I think he's a good prospect. I think he's a player that if we had everything set on the left-hand side, I wouldn't have an issue with Spurs signing Tel. But unfortunately, we don't have everything set. We don't have an established option on the left, which brings me to the detractors. We didn't have a plan. Obviously, we were chasing Savinho. Lookman was interested. Loose links to Morgan Rogers. But yet we're left empty-handed on the left-hand side, and we've also committed 30 million odd this summer on top of the 8 million quid or 9 million quid we spent on a loan fee in January for Tel. That's basically 40 million that we've committed on Tel, on a player who plays in a position and is a prospect in a position where we signed another prospect literally 6 months prior to Tel, who we also need to develop in addition to a 17-year-old Mikey Moore, who's on loan at Rangers, who we also need to develop. You see my point here? We're heaping on the prospects with not enough minutes to give them. And even when we give them minutes, are they ready? I don't know. I expect improvements from Tell. He's young, he's going to develop. I feel like Frank is the gaffer to get more out of our attackers. But even if he gets that more, it doesn't compare to established quality. Players who have experience in shouldering responsibility, who can score goals more frequently than Tell, who can create goals more frequently than Odegaard, who are more impactful in games than our two prospects. Because that's what they are, they're two prospects. And that was a gaping hole for us after selling Son. And even with Son in the team, we needed to address that position. And we didn't do it. We did not do it. So for me, that Tell signing, yes, it's one for the future, but is it a signing that we should have made as a club, knowing what we had? Yeah? Knowing what we had in Odegaard, knowing what we had in Mikey Moore, knowing the need for an established option there, was another 19 or 20-year-old what we needed? The answer for me is no. That's poor squad building. So that takes down, that takes a point or two off what my rating would have been. Yeah, had we done what I just said and signed an established left winger. I get it, Tell can play through the middle, he can play off the left, but he's still raw. He still needs a lot of refinement in his game. Yes, he's got potential. He's a good prospect. I'll maintain. I like Tell. But would I have done that signing? No, I wouldn't have. I actually wouldn't have done that signing. But he's here, so we best develop him well. But I can't really see how this ends next summer with us keeping Tell Odegaard unless one of them goes on a madness this season. And it's not it's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. They need time. I look at Takai, centre-back. Again, I have no qualms in signing for the future, but make sure you deal with the here and now. That's my only concern. If you're going to sign for the future, make sure you bring them along with here and now players. And you look at Takai, one, he's injured. We ain't going to see him for a while. Two, yes, he plays left centre-back, but he's 20 years old and he's come from the Japanese league. In a position where if Mickey van der Ven goes down, guess who our next best option is? Ben Davies. One of the names that we should have been selling this summer, but oh no, we gave him a 1-year extension and we didn't bring a left-sided defender, a hybrid defender. We were linked with Ake, we were linked with Ikanji, we were linked with Esteve or whatever his name is from Burnley. Who else were we linked with in that role? I can't remember. We were linked with another defender in that role, I can't remember. But Hincapié as well, we were linked. Obviously he's gone to Arsenal, but it was clear to see we needed another defender in that position. Frank needed another defender. You see it against Bournemouth, how we struggled when we have two right footers playing on the left. Thank God Destiny's back. And listen, Jed Spence, he's quality backup. And to be honest, he's a very good starting option. But Jed Spence is not a lefty. He's not left-footed. He ain't left-footed. And I'm looking at our centre-back situation now, and it fills me with worry. It fills me with worry. Our left-hand side, it does fill me with worry. Because Mickey van der Ven, he's good for injuries. And when I say he's good for injuries, I mean he's good for an injury. I expect that he will pick up knocks. Because that's what happens. He misses games. And even if the injuries reduce, the sheer volume of games we're playing and the level of competition that we're going to face in these games because we're in the Champions League will mean that the manager is going to have to rotate. And now, if we were to drop Mickey van der Ven, who's our option? To play Danso as a left centre-back when his best work comes on the right? To play Ben Davies? Yeah? Is that the solution? Left back. If we want to rest Destiny, we play Spence, who's meant to be competing with Pedro Porro. Who's meant to be competing with Pedro Porro? You look at the game against Bournemouth from the weekend. Imagine if we had a left-sided defender. We could have played that left-sided defender left back, and we could have played Jed Spence right back, because Spence was the better matchup against Semenyo. And we're going to get way more examples, whether it's Spence starting right back or Porro. There'll be horses for courses games where we need to switch out the team. And also, as I said, same example, same circumstance. Champions League ball, Premier League ball, League Cup, FA Cup. It all counts. We need a big squad, but most importantly, we need a competitive squad. A squad with quality. And for me, I feel like we're lacking on the left-hand side. We're lacking. We are. We either have not enough quality in Ben Davies, who is painfully out of his depth, not good enough, should have been sold probably 2 years ago, and he's still here. Why? Only God knows. Left side in attack, we haven't solved our left wing issue. We're still going to have to rock up with terrible options off the left, like Brennan Johnson, who may score goals, but he plays awful for 70, 80, 90% of games. Plays awful and is detrimental to how the team plays, and isn't left-sided and can't really take on his man. But guess what? Frank's going to play him, because what other option does he have? To throw in 20-year-old kid in Odebear, who comes on, shows flashes of quality. Again, I like Odebear. I think he's a good prospect. And I actually, if it was me, I'd be starting Tell or Odebear over Johnson off the left, because I think they're more naturally suited to playing on that side than Johnson. And I think they're just better wingers. But Johnson scores, they don't score. That's the problem. They're not at a stage of their career where they can put up numbers. And unfortunately, Johnson, as terrible as he is, he puts up numbers. So the manager is going to always default to the older player who's putting up numbers, despite how horrific he is. So that's a problem for me. And then when you look at Basuma, we weren't able to get rid of him. We had a potential move on the cards to Galatasaray that fell through. And then the good thing, the good sales. As I'm speaking to you right now, Solomon is weighing up either a move to Crystal Palace or Benfica. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Get him out of the club. Good. That's good. That's good business. And then, what I think, to end it on a positive note, the club have managed to get just under 9 million. 9 million for Brian Hill. I think that is probably the deal of the summer for Tottenham, because he has been an absolutely shambolic signing. Absolutely shambolic. And at the time, I celebrated signing him, not because he was levels or anything, but because we were getting rid of Lamela. Little did I know that this guy would end up being 10 times worse than Lamela as a player for Tottenham. So good riddance. I hope he does well at Girona, but in all honesty, I will not be following his career. I don't really care for Brian Hill at this point, and I'm really happy that the club, they've managed to get him off the books and actually get some money back, because I thought that was going to be a straight termination thing. Terminate the contract and done. But yeah, add up all of those factors together, the incomings, the outgoings, the gaps we still have, the issues that we're still going to have to be up against, but also the good work. Also selling Son, I forgot about Son, getting 20 million for Son, 20 million quid. So what, our net spend is what, 20 something for Son, plus 9 million for Solomon. No, not for Solomon, for Gil, plus I can't even remember who else. But yeah, man, put all of those things together, and for me, yeah, 7 out of 10 still stands. This is actually one of the better windows that we've had. In fact, I would actually say this is probably the best window we've had in a long time. I think this is a better window than the Mickey van der Ven, Madison, Vicario window. When I look at the quality of players that have come in, it's not far off. Like, that window is not far off this window, but I would say this window is certainly one of the better windows that we've had, at least in the last decade. But whether it's put us in a good enough position where we can confidently say we're going to finish 5th or 4th maybe, we need to play it by ear. But at the very least, this is a competitive squad, and when players like Solanke come back from injury, players like Kulusevski come back from injury, it makes the squad even better. So with a manager like Frank who can coach upwards, and the signings that we've made, I think we should be able to do some really positive things this season. But unfortunately, I feel like the issues I've brought up may be our undoing in certain moments of the season. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think? What rating would you give us out of 10? And yeah, where do you see us finishing this season?